What if one small act of kindness could change the course of someone's life forever, even when the world seems to have turned its back on them? Zivra Kale, 27, was a heartbeat of Dawn's Haven Diner, a weathered, greasy spoon on the outskirts of Willow Crest, a town where hope often withered under the weight of routine. Her life was a precarious balance. Grueling shifts at the diner, night classes at Willow Crest Community College for a business degree, and a quiet dream of opening a cafe where people could linger over warm meals without being rushed. The diner's wages barely covered her rent for a cramped studio apartment, its walls plastered with sticky notes scrawled with ideas, amber lanterns, lavender scones, share tables, and kept her 98 hatchback coughing along with duct tape repairs. Dreams were her refuge, but reality was the ache in her legs, the grease stains on her apron, and the constant shadow of Varn Holt, the diner's manager, whose bitterness seeped into every corner like damp rot. Varn was a lean man with a scowl carved deep, his voice a lash that stung Zivra's every move. "Zivra, table 6 is waiting." "Stop dawdling," he'd bark, slamming a tray of dirty dishes onto the counter, the crash startling customers and setting Zivra's nerves on edge. She bit her tongue, her smile reserved for the regulars who made the grind bearable. Eldrin Voss, the cook, was a grizzled man with knotted hand from arthritis, but a soft spot for Zivra, slipping her extra fries when Varn's back was turned. Lissara Wren, a retired archivist draped in violet shawls, tipped in coins and shared tales of her travels to Istanbul and Kyoto, her eyes twinkling with memories. Gavix Thorne, a trucker with a rumbling laugh, always left a generous tip under his coffee mug, his stories of the open road a brief escape. They were Zivra's patchwork family, bound by shared mornings and quiet kindnesses. Zivra's own past was a tapestry of resilience. Raised by a single mother who worked double shifts at a cannery, Zivra had learned early to make do with little. Her mother, the Lynn, had died when Zivra was 19, leaving her with a box of recipes and a belief in small acts of kindness. Those recipes, scribbled on yellowed index cards, fueled Zivra's dream of cafe, but life kept pushing back. Her car's transmission groaned, her landlord hounded her for late rent, and her night classes, funded by a dwindling scholarship, demanded more energy than she had. Failure wasn't an option, but neither was giving up her dream. 5 weeks ago, a new presence disrupted the diner's rhythm. At precisely 7 a.m., a girl, no older than 10, slipped through the door, her saffron jacket swallowing her slight frame. Her dark hair was tangled in a loose braid, her hazel eyes guarded, like she expected the world to strike. She'd climb onto the same counter stool, order an egg sandwich and a glass of milk in a whisper so soft Zivra had to lean in, and push a pile of coins across the counter. The total was always short, sometimes a nickel, sometimes $1. The first time, Zivra glanced at Varn's office, its smoked glass a constant threat, then punched in the order, slipped her own money into the register, and slid the plate in front of the girl without a word. "Kids need to eat," Zivra told herself, though the girl's silence unnerved her. She ate with quiet precision, her hands clutching the sandwich like it was her only meal. Zivra started adding an extra splash of milk, muttering about growing bones, but it was the girl's hollow cheeks and flinches at loud noises, Varn shouting, a dropped tray, that haunted her. The routine solidified. The girl's whispered order, the short payment, Zivra's secret sacrifice. Her savings, a $250 stash in a tin box, shrank to $180, then $120. She skipped lunches, her stomach growling as she poured coffee, her clothes hanging looser. Her night classes suffered. She failed a quiz, her professor's warning sharp. "You're slipping, Zivra. Get it together." The girl never smiled, never spoke beyond her order. Zivra recognized the weight of hunger from her own childhood, the fear of being unseen, of slipping through the cracks. She saw that fear in the girl's slumped shoulders, the way her eyes darted to the door, as if expecting someone to drag her away. One morning, as Zivra cleared the girl's plate, she found a folded scrap of paper under the milk glass. She glanced around. Varn was berating a busboy and unfolded it. In shaky handwriting, it read, "Thank you for the milk. Nobody's been this kind since Mother died." Zivra's chest tightened, her fingers tracing the words. The girl had a name, Cillian, and a story. Since Mother died. The phrase lingered, stirring questions. Who was Cillian? Why was she alone every morning, with barely enough for breakfast? Zivra tucked the note into her apron, her eyes following Cillian as she slipped out, her saffron jacket fading into the dawn mist. That note shifted everything. Zivra watched Cillian closely, noting the frayed cuffs of her jacket, the broken zipper, the way she clutched her coins like a lifeline. Her concern deepened, but so did her fear. Varn's temper had sharpened, his eyes tracking Zivra's every move, his patience thinning as the diner's profits dipped. She sensed he was waiting for her to slip up, and the weight of that scrutiny pressed harder each day. The diner's atmosphere grew oppressive as Varn's new rules took root. He'd caught Zivra pouring extra milk for Cillian one morning and unleashed a tirade in front of the regulars. This ain't a charity. Zivra, feed strays on your own dime. His words burned, cutting deeper than usual, and the regulars shifted uncomfortably, Lasara clutching her shawl, Gavix's laugh fading into a scowl. Worse was the sign Varn posted the next day, taped to the wall in bold, accusing letters. No unaccompanied minors served without full payment. It was a direct attack on Cillian, a warning Zivra couldn't ignore. Zivra's mornings became a high-wire act. She served Cillian swiftly, her tips ready to cover the shortfall before Varn could notice. But Cillian's saffron jacket was a beacon in the diner's faded tones, impossible to hide. The regulars noticed, their whispers a chorus of support. Lasara leaned in one day, her voice low. That child's carrying a heavy burden. Zivra, you're doing right by her. Eldrin, flipping burgers, grumbled. Varn's got no soul, picking on a kid. Gavix slipped an extra $1 into his tip, winking, for the kid's milk. Their support was a lifeline, but it couldn't untie the knot in Zivra's stomach. Cillian's visits continued, each one a quiet defiance. Zivra's savings shrank to $60, her tips barely covering the difference. She skipped meals, her energy fading, her reflection in the diner's smudged windows showing a woman stretched thin. Her night classes became a blur. She failed a midterm, her professor's warning echoing. You're on thin ice, Zivra. But Cillian's note, creased from being read and reread, kept her going. Nobody's been this kind. Zivra clung to those words, even as the risk grew. Zivra's own struggles deepened. Her landlord left a notice on her door. Pay the overdue rent or face eviction. Her car broke down, forcing her to walk 2 miles to the diner in the pre-dawn chill. She hid her exhaustion behind a smile, but Lasara noticed, slipping her a scarf for the cold mornings. Eldrin packed her a to-go box of pancakes, muttering, You're no good anyone starving. Their kindness mirrored her own, but it couldn't erase the fear that she was failing. Not just Cillian, but herself. One morning, Cillian lingered, her sandwich untouched, her milk glass empty. Zivra approached, wiping her hands. You okay, little one? She asked softly. Cillian's eyes flicked up, then down, her fingers trembling. She slid another note across the counter and bolted, her saffron jacket a blur. Zivra unfolded it, her heart racing. I haven't spoken to anyone since the accident. You make me feel safe. The words hit like a fist. An accident. That explained the silence, the guarded look. But it raised more questions. What accident? Where was Cillian's family? Why was she alone? That afternoon, Varn cornered Zivra in the storage room, his breath sour with coffee and resentment. I saw you slip money in the register, he hissed, his face inches from hers. You're stealing from me to feed that kid. One more time, and I'm docking your pay or firing you. Zivra's throat tightened, but she nodded, her mind racing. She couldn't abandon Cillian, but she couldn't lose her job. The diner, once a refuge, felt like a cage. The next morning, Zivra arrived early, her nerves raw. At 7 a.m., Cillian appeared, her routine unchanged. Zivra's hand shook as she poured the milk, her eyes darting to Varn's office, its door ajar. She slid the sandwich across, whispering, Eat quick, okay? Cillian nodded, her fingers brushing Zivra's. The touch steadied Zivra's resolve. Days blurred into a tense rhythm. Zivra noticed new details about Cillian, the thinning fabric of her jacket, the way she glanced at the door, expecting trouble. She wanted to ask more, but Silyun's silence was a wall. Instead, Zivra left small gestures, extra toast, a napkin folded into a clumsy bird, a lingering smile. Each was a risk, but a necessity. One evening, locking up, Zivra found another note taped to the door. "You're like my mother was." Her eyes stung, her fingers trembling as she tucked it away. The words anchored her, but deep in her fear, what was she missing? Who was letting this child slip through the cracks? The tension snapped one morning when Varn caught Zivra slipping $1 into the register. He stormed over, his voice booming. "That's it, Zivra. You're done." The regulars gasped, Lasara clutching her mug, Gavix's hands clenching. Varn jabbed a finger at Silyun, who shrank in her seat. "And you out. No free rides." Silyun's eyes widened and she bolted, her sandwich abandoned, her saffron jacket flapping. Zivra's instinct was to follow, but Varn blocked her. "You're lucky I don't call the cops," he spat. Zivra's voice was low, fierce. "She's a child, Varn." He scoffed, but the encounter left Zivra shaken, guilt gnawing at her. Had she driven Silyun away for good? The diner was quieter the next morning, the regulars subdued by a gray sky heavy with rain. Zivra was wiping the counter, her mind on Silyun, when the bell jingled sharply. She glanced up, hoping for the saffron jacket. Instead, a black SUV loomed in the parking lot, its engine growling. 4 men in dark suits stepped out, their movement precise, like security detail trained for precision. A 5th man followed, tall in a tailored charcoal coat, his face calm but intense, his eyes scanning the diner with quiet authority. The regulars froze, forks pausing, mugs hovering. Varn emerged from his office, his scowl faltering, his bluster replaced by unease. Zivra's heart pounded as a man approached, his bodyguards fanning out, their presence a silent command. "I'm looking for Zivra Kale," he said, his voice smooth but commanding. Zivra's rag slipped, landing with a thud. "That's me," she managed, her voice faint. The man extended a hand. "Calix Norvane, I believe you've been helping my daughter, Silyun." Zivra's mind reeled, the world tilting. "Daughter? Silyun?" Calix's eyes softened as he handed her a folded note. She recognized Silyun's handwriting. "Thank you for the milk. You're the only one I talked to." Zivra's knees buckled, but she caught herself. Calix explained, his voice low. Silyun had lost her mother, Elora, in a car accident 2 years ago, leaving her with selective mutism. She hadn't spoken to anyone outside their home, nor eaten breakfast elsewhere, until Dawn's Haven. "She told me about you," Calix said. "A waitress who gave her extra milk, who made her feel safe. I had to see it." Zivra's eyes darted to the SUV, where Silyun's saffron jacket was visible. "She's here," she whispered. Calix nodded. "She insisted. She wanted you to know she's grateful." He paused. "I repay kindness. Name your price." Zivra blinked. "Price? I was just helping her." Calix smiled. "I thought you'd say that. Let me offer to finance a restaurant for you. A place for people like Silyun." The diner spun. A restaurant? Her dream, offered by Silyun's father, a tech magnate whose name echoed in local headlines. Varn sputtered, "Zivra, you can't." Calix's glance silenced him. Varn stepped forward, voice loud. "She's been stealing, slipping money to cover that kid's meals." The regulars murmured, Lasara's hand tightening, Gavix's jaw clenching. Zivra's face burned. Calix's expression hardened. "Is that true, Zivra?" Zivra's voice was steady. "I paid for her meals myself. She was hungry." The diner fell silent. Lasara nodded, misty-eyed. Eldrin leaned out, proud. Gavix muttered, "Damn right." Calix's gaze softened. "Varn," Calix said, "how much does Zivra owe?" Varn stammered, $80. Calix counted out 400. A donation. Varn retreated, red-faced. Calix turned to Zivra. "Think about my offer." He left a card, embossed in gold, and exited, his bodyguards trailing. The SUV pulled away, Silyun's jacket vanishing. Zivra stood frozen, Calix's card burning in her apron. The regulars buzzed. Lasara squeezed her hand. You deserve this, dear. Eldrin leaned over. You've got heart, Zivra. Gavik slid a 10 across. For the kids, next milk. That night, Zivra sat in her apartment, the card catching the light of a flickering bulb. A restaurant. Her dream. But it felt too big. What if she failed? She thought of Silyun, her notes, her trust, and dialed Calyx. I'll do it, she said. For Silyun, for others like her. Calyx's reply was warm. I expected nothing less. They planned ZNS Haven, named for Zivra and Silyun. Calyx's resources built a storefront with glowing windows, cedar tables, and a menu of comfort foods, pancakes, egg sandwiches, endless tea. A suspended meal program honored Silyun's mornings. Zivra dove in, her exhaustion replaced by purpose. She chose amber walls, tasted recipes with Eldrin, and sketched a reading nook for Lysara. Calyx shared stories of Silyun, her love of sketching ferns, her quiet strength. Zivra learned Calyx built his empire from a single algorithm, driven by a vow to provide for Silyun after Ellora's death. His gratitude was genuine, rooted in Silyun's whispered words about the diner. The regulars rallied. Eldrin quit Dawn's Haven to lead ZNS's kitchen. Lysara promised stories to the Nook. Gavik's truckers vowed to make ZNS their stop. But Varn spread rumors, claiming Zivra skimmed tips. Calyx's money was dirty. The whispers stung, but Zivra let her work speak. A subplot emerged. Zivra's estranged cousin, Myrene, a single mother who drifted away after a family feud, reappeared, seeking work. Zivra hesitated. Myrene had once betrayed her trust over a shared inheritance, but hired her as a barista, hoping to mend old wounds. Myrene's presence added tension. Her sharp tongue clashed with Eldrin, and her skepticism about Zivra's dream tested her patience. Yet Myrene's knack for connecting with customers, especially teens, brought a new energy to the cafe. A developer, Varn's ally, tried to block ZNS's permits, citing zoning issues. Zivra's dream teetered. Calyx's legal team crushed the claims, but the ordeal shook Zivra's confidence. One evening, sorting swatches in a half-built cafe, she found Silyun's notes. You make me feel safe. You're like my mother. Zivra's resolve hardened. This was for Silyun, for every unseen child. ZNS Haven, open on a spring morning, the air sweet with jasmine. Zivra, in an amber dress, unlocked the door, the crowd stretching down the block. The cafe glowed, amber lanterns twinkling, Eldrin's pancakes wafting. Zivra moved through the chaos, her smile radiant, her heart full. The cafe was a haven. Cedar tables, a nook where Lysara read to kids, a chalkboard listing specials, egg sandwiches, lavender tea. The suspended meal board filled fast. For a student, for a weary soul. Eldrin's griddle sang. Gavik's laugh echoed. Myrene's coffee art drew gasps. Silyun was there, her saffron jacket hung by the door, pouring tea with careful movements. When thanked, she whispered, You're welcome, her voice clear. Zivra's heart swelled, her eyes meeting Calyx's. He'd arrived quietly, nodding in salute. The opening wasn't perfect. Spills, a jam kettle, but Zivra handled it with grace, the regulars pitching in. Varn's rumors surfaced in the gossip column, but Willowcrest rallied, flooding ZNS with support. Varn's diner faded, its neon sign dark. He visited once, left silently, and Zivra felt only relief. ZNS became Willowcrest's heart, drawing students, families, wanderers. Zivra's classes resumed, her studies fueled by experience. Silyun painted murals, Fern's Dawn's milk glasses, her silence fading. Calyx supported quietly, equipment, contacts, encouragement. A new challenge arose. Myrene's teenage daughter, Clara, began sneaking out, her rebellion straining Myrene's focus. Zivra stepped in, offering Clara a job bussing tables, channeling her energy. Clara's presence drew younger customers, and her bond with Silyun grew. Their shared sketches a bridge between their struggles. One winter, Silyun's mutism returned after a bully mocked Ellora's death. Zivra found her crying in the storage room. I'm scared I'll forget her, Silyun whispered. Zivra held her hand. We'll keep her alive. They painted a mural of Ellora's favorite blooms, irises, on the cafe's wall, each stroke healing. Cillian's voice returned, stronger, her laughter brighter. For years later, Z&S Haven was Willowcrest's soul, its walls Cillian's gallery, its tables a mosaic of stories. Zivra, 31, mentored entrepreneurs, her degree framed, her suspended meal program spreading statewide. Cillian, 14, thrived, her silence gone, her murals in galleries, her saffron jacket a relic. Clara, now 16, found purpose in the cafe, her sketches alongside Cillian's, her rebellion softened by Zivra's guidance. Myrene, once distant, became Zivra's confidant, their bond mended through shared work. Calix's bond with Zivra was deep, rooted in purpose, not romance. He funded scholarships, backed Zivra's advocacy, his pride quiet but fierce. Z&S hosted art classes, poetry nights, its doors open to all. Zivra's story spread, a magazine feature. The milk that changed a town drew visitors. One spring morning, Zivra watched Cillian and Clara teach kids to sketch irises. A note appeared under a teacup. "Thank you for the milk. It gave me a home." It was a framed drawing. Cillian with an egg sandwich, a milk glass glowing, Clara's initials in the corner. Zivra hugged them both, tears falling. "You gave me one, too," she whispered. 6 years later, Z&S Haven glowed in Willowcrest, a third location feeding thousands. Zivra was a leader, Cillian an artist, Clara a mentor, Calix their rock. The drawing hung by the counter, a symbol of their path. Each morning, Zivra poured milk, every glass a spark of love. As dawn broke, Cillian and Clara's laughter echoed, their latest mural. Irises under a vast sky, a tribute to Elora, the Lynn, every soul who'd fought for softness. Zivra felt Cillian's words. "You make me feel safe." In that light, that laughter, Zivra knew she'd built a home of milk, mornings, and unbreakable kindness.